Okay, I believe that we are live now. Um, so, folks, I hope you're out there. I can't see people, but thank you for joining my talk. Thank you for coming and hearing me today. My name is Melissa Nysewander, and until this past Monday, I led the data science function on the people analytics team at Fidelity Investments. These are some old slides, as in slides I made last week. I've since moved to a new role, still within Fidelity, but I have spent the past 6 years on the people analytics team at Fidelity, helping to grow the team, helping to found the team, and then grow and then shape it into what it is today. And that's a team that uses a broad spectrum of analytics to really understand the employee experience. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how to use data science. So people analytics is a very broad term. In this case, people means it means our employees. And I have mixed feelings about that. Just people analytics can be studying of any people. I believe this term came out of Google. Google was one of the pioneers of using data and algorithms to really understand their employees, especially during their huge hiring growth early on. And they had their HR function was called the people operations function. And so I believe the term people analytics came from there. But that's really what it is. It's using data and math, using analytics to really understand your employees. And in any analytics function, you need to have a broad array of types of solutions that you have to look at the data and to really answer those questions. And so any good people analytics team will have people that do basic analytics, looking at trends, making sure that if something changes, executives are made aware if there's leading indicators or trends that are going in the wrong direction, by creating dashboards and doing a lot of very important reporting functions. That's not what my side is, though. My side is more of the right-hand side of this page, using data science to really look at historical data and really understand the patterns in that historical data and how to apply them going forward. So for data science and advanced analytics, it really is broken down into two major areas here, more on the statistical modeling side and the machine learning side. And those are traditionally functions of a data science team. And statistical modeling really maps to understanding our employees. So that's sort of the left-hand side, the employee insights. And there, people analytics teams typically rely upon solid scientific background, solid scientific methodologies to look and see, we have all this information about our employees. We have information about their behaviors. We have information about where they sit, who their manager is. We have sentiment surveys. We have all of this stuff around our employees. How can we use that data to really understand what's going on with them so that we can uncover those patterns and then apply those patterns later to help improve things? So we have statistical modeling or machine learning. The difference here, it's people can make an argument that there's not a big difference here at all. But traditionally, statistical modeling is more of that understanding of things, whereas machine learning is really more of that black box predictor of something. So maybe you don't understand exactly what's going on with your employees, but you would do a really good job of predicting what they might do next. So there's use cases in people analytics that will really that really fall into both areas, basically. You need to understand folks. You need to understand those insights and those patterns, but then you also want to help operationally. Data scientists in an HR function can really help the HR function make better decisions on an individual basis. So So going forward, so what types of questions are we looking at with people analytics? I love this slide. This is a way to frame the, it's a way to frame sort of like what the employee life cycle. So like, what do we study in terms of like, where do we talk about, like, where are we looking at employees? And really what we ought to be doing is constantly polling employees, constantly talking to folks in HR, talking with our business partners, and to really understand where are the pain points. And then we need to focus our in-depth analyses on those pain points to help just to make our employees' lives to make better, to make the organization function better. So here you see on the left, attraction and selection. We start thinking about Fidelity employees before they even apply. Basically, we think a lot about our employer brand. And there's a lot of data, external data, that you can use to help understand that employer brand. And so there's the employer brand, and then there is, so how do you attract people? And absolutely, you think about places like Glassdoor, those are huge areas. Like we have partnered with Glassdoor in the past. It's such an important place of data. It's such an important way for us to help attract associates. Definitely, it's very important there. But then once people want to apply, then when they do apply, that is a huge area for data science, because there you do have a lot of highly unstructured data coming in to the organization, and you can start pulling pieces together to help our talent acquisition team make much better decisions there. So that's another thing I can talk about a little bit more. But also note, this is a 20-minute talk, so this is a very high-level overview of people analytics. So once you attract them and then hire them, then you need to onboard them. And onboarding is, especially during COVID, it's been very difficult. So onboarding in normal times is difficult for any company. It really can make or break an employee's experience as that first year, the first few months even. We have just learned recently that, during COVID, our employees, our new hires, they're having a much harder time building their internal networks. And so that's something that we use some statistical models to understand, like, how networks are growing very early on. And just like things like that point to wanting to intervene in some way. So make some sort of action, make some sort of program, work with the onboarding team and let them know that these new hires need some extra help. So whenever you do a data science project, and sometimes they can be like months long, very difficult things to do, you always want to keep in mind the end result. So you maybe do this onboarding, networking, statistical modeling sort of thing, but then ultimately you need to tie it back to actions. And so that's a lesson that we always have to remember in data science, because it can be lost sometimes. But next, so once you've attracted them, selected them, onboarded them, then you need to help them grow. At my company, we have absolutely a huge emphasis on developing our talent, helping our associates grow and move around the company. We want people to be able, and this is rare, this is kind of rare at this time, but we want associates, especially top talent that we've identified, to be able to grow and stay at Fidelity for their whole careers if they want to. We want to provide these growth opportunities. We want to provide promotions. We want to provide opportunities to build new skills. And that's absolutely a big focus of a lot of our data science work. Communication and engagement. We absolutely work well with the communications team, and also our associate experience team, who are constantly putting out surveys to really understand the associate engagement and sentiment around, how do they feel about the company? Again, that is a place, talking about pain points, there's nothing better than asking associates, what are the pain points? And so that is a place where we get a lot of information back. Um, Career planning and succession. This is maybe more at higher levels, more longer tenured associates, making sure that they have those growth options, and making sure that we know, for the very highest, who's going to take somebody's place, because that could cause huge disruptions if we don't know that. And then separation. There's two things here. We do a massive amount of work into understanding why people leave the company. Because if you think about it, that is a huge way to understand the pain points. If people are coming up on something that is difficult, or if they have, like, say they have a bad manager or a long commute, or maybe we tell them they have to come back into the office and they don't want to. Not that we're doing that as a company, but there's some things that we think about. We need to make sure that we're not, introducing pain points to our associates that will make them leave the company. And then also, and this may not be the case as much with all companies, but we have Fidelity alumni. Often people start at Fidelity, then they go off somewhere else, and then they eventually come back. So we always want to keep, a sort of relationship with our Fidelity alumni, and make sure that, they know that if they want to come back, there's definitely places for them, and that we always appreciate the new skills and knowledge they learned outside the company. So again, I only have like 20 minutes here. So again, this is kind of a very broad overview. But here's what I'm talking about in terms of employee insights. So really understanding the employee behavior. Again, all of this is work to understand things. And the types of questions that we can ask, it's all about, like, why. It's all about the why. And so, and in HR, that's often most of the questions that we get. People are asking us, why does somebody do this? Why? What makes good characteristics of somebody coming into the company? We're doing a project on that right now to make sure that we're hiring the right people. We may do projects to understand, what makes a good manager, because we want to make sure that our employees are having a good experience with their manager. Maybe we partner with the manager development, talent development and learning team, to really make sure that managers know what they should be doing. They know what's important at Fidelity to make a good experience for their employees. But so the understanding employee behavior side, again, this is the more scientific type of side. This is a lot more here. We don't want to build, traditional machine learning black boxes. What we want to do is we want to understand the patterns going forward. And that means using more of those statistical models that I talked about earlier. But it can be a lot more complicated than that. The data sources that you use are traditionally more quantitative, more numerical, things that can easily go into these types of statistical models. And so in some ways, I feel like they've gotten a bad rap. But if you start talking to a social scientist, a psychologist, the types of statistical modeling they do are highly complex. It is far more than just sort of your typical GLM type model. You really get into a lot of longitudinal analysis because you have associates and you study associates at each month, and people change over time. And so you need to be able to deal with person level data over time. That is a whole subset of statistics. Or causal modeling. We have recently really been focusing on causal modeling, because if you can imagine, a lot of these things that we have here are all connected. And it's very hard to piece apart, what are the underlying causes for a lot of these behaviors. So say we're talking about performance, and we want to see let's say we're talking about sentiment. So who's happy at the company? You could imagine people who get paid more are probably happier. That's not far-fetched. So people who get paid more are happier, but then people who perform better are also probably happier because they're performing better, they're getting more recognition, but they're also getting more money. So there's this triangle between compensation, performance, and sentiment And how do you piece those things apart? The way you piece those things apart is using something like causal modeling. And it can get far more complicated than just those three things that I mentioned. But that's fundamentally, we need to learn from this type of modeling, learn from these types of scientists, really how to apply that to our associates. And then finally, we also look, I talked about how we do attrition modeling. So looking at people that leave the company. That is highly tied to the idea of survival analysis. Survival analysis came about when you had basically medical studies where people may drop out of a study. Maybe they pass away, maybe they just leave, or whatever the reason. We look at how people survive in the company. And so that's how we think of attrition analysis. We think of who's surviving in the company, who's staying, and then what are the events leading up to somebody's leaving that really are what's making them leave. So it's all tied. Survival analysis is also longitudinal panel analysis. So really, you have to combine all of these things to really understand fundamentally what's going on underneath and like really deriving these patterns. And then the insights, yeah, so again, like and then from all of this, explainable AI, then you get your insights. So here, your insights are answers to those questions. Why does somebody leave the company? Well, say maybe somebody leaves the company because we're not paying them enough. So that's a factor. That's a lever that we can use. So compensation is a huge lever that we can use at a company. Maybe we team up with a compensation team and we say, hey, we have noticed that under these circumstances for these job groups, maybe you need to raise the pay. Or maybe it's not the pay. Maybe it's the benefits. Maybe it is the type of work being done, and they need to improve the associate environment. Maybe it's a real estate thing. Maybe, there's so many different things it could be, but this type of analysis really, really breaks down all the different factors and tells you what's important so you can really drive that change programmatically in partnership with other HR functions. The second type, again, this goes back to the machine learning type of analysis. This is decision support. This is specifically, so there's some types of AI that are trying to replace humans, basically, taking humans out of the loop. Here in people analytics, we find a lot of AI in terms of augmenting humans. So instead of, so for example, before we were talking about what are the factors that might make somebody leave the company. Here we're talking about who would leave the company. So let's say I am upset and our model says, well, Melissa would leave the company. Well, then we can intervene and say, hey, this one associate is we think that they might leave the company. We think they're unhappy and they're going to go. So then we could intervene. But here we are talking about a lot of like automated processes. We can expand the amount of data sources that we're using because we're using more advanced machine learning and NLP type of techniques. You can expand the kind of data into more unstructured data. And here you can also bring in things like network data. So you can work with, say, your e-communications data. Who is talking with who? And then like, how does network size? So like I was talking about earlier, like onboarding, we found like people's networks aren't growing like they should be. So that was an example of something coming out of here. But absolutely, combining all of this, we can create person-level predictions or like next best actions, which is something that comes from the marketing world, or things like hiring decisions. Who is the best fit for somebody in this role? Which also gets into AI bias and ethics, because absolutely you need to understand some things that a lot of these are black box, but it can't be complete black box. And so we are out of time. Again, this was a very broad overview. I welcome you to reach back out to me on any of these things. I am my last name is pronounced Nysewander, and the great thing about it is that you can Google me very easily and find me very easily online. And I always welcome people to connect with me, to email me, any thoughts or any further questions or comments. All right, thank you all so much.